Okay, members of council, if you can please take your seat. This meeting is now resumed. Members, before the recess, council was debating item CC 7.3 on Bill 108. Is it the will of council to complete that item before we consider the members' motions? Okay. Before we return to that item, CC 7.3, Councillor Carroll, I believe is prepared to release the item. Item CC 7.12.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Carroll, you'll release it?
Yes.
Okay. On page 3, CC 7.12, Councillor Carroll's releasing, recorded vote.
Councillor Fillion, please. Councillor Fillion, your vote, please.
The item is adopted unanimously, 21 in favor.
Thank you. So if we just wait for a minute for the names to be put up on the screen. Councillor Fillion.
Thank you. So just to recap where we were before lunch, the word of the day is catastrophic. The phrase of the day is by developers, for developers. And the monster of the day, as suggested by Councillor Cole, is Dracula, though I'm going to suggest Frankenstein is more appropriate. It was a creation that shouldn't have been created, and the story did not end at all well. So under what's in place now, which is what is really having the wrecking ball taken to it, as we heard from our chief planner in an excellent report, we have a multi-year supply of new housing that we have produced, that we have approved without any prodding, and that consists of 140,000 units that are approved and not yet built, and another 167,000 units that are under review. So we are doing our job to create new housing already, clearly, demonstrably, objectively. We are embracing inclusionary zoning to actually do something to create more affordable units within all of those new units. We have both long and short-term plans to create complete communities, to make sure that when we approve new development that we get parkland and community centers and childcare centers and other infrastructure and everything we need to do to look after the new residents and to have the highly livable city that we all value. And we have a system that gives, currently, under the new planning regime, we have a system that gives a lot of authority to the decision-making in this body, the reports from the professional planning staff and the approvals by council. So most of that is obliterated And we have here an issue, I think that to go back to the mayor's comments about, taking this to the streets, taking this to people's front doors, we have an issue that really crosses all party lines that, when you start talking about having strong communities or livable cities, it's not an issue for the left, right, or the center. It's everybody's issue. Everybody wants that regardless of their political orientation. And of all the legislation that's come flooding out in the last little while, this is the one that I think is probably the Achilles heel for this government, and hopefully they will recognize that in time to reverse a lot of the things they're doing. But in any case, we really need to take this one out to the people, take something that's complicated and explain it in fairly simple chunks, and I think the chief planner has made it easier for us to do that. And again, this is one that we really need to make sure that people pay attention to. The others are about money, which is a big problem. You never underestimate how much money we need to run the city properly, but good planning is really what makes a city special, that makes it livable, that makes us at a place that we're all proud to call home, and that is really being taken away from us here.
Thank you. Councillor Perks.
Thank you, Speaker. I have a motion. If we can have it up. I'd like to move that in the event that Bill 108 receives royal assent, City Council requests the Chief Planner and Executive Director of City Planning to report to the first available Planning and Housing Committee meeting outlining any area of the city that may require a holding provision until all regulations, transitional measures, and financial uncertainties related to Bill 108 are resolved. I've discussed this with the Chief Planner, and I'm not saying that he told me to do it, but I'm saying he told me he can do it. We, as a city, sit in between community interest and the interests of property owners when we consider development applications. Yes, people who own property have the right to ask us to consider a development application. And yes, we also have a larger responsibility to make sure that those new buildings are built in communities that are worth living in. That's our job. It's literally our job. And the province of Ontario, in their legislation, has thrown our ability to do that job into complete uncertainty. We just don't know. It doesn't look good. It looks like we may well be losing an awful lot of ground, and that the scales are going to tip in favor of the people who are developing property and not in favor of the people who have to live in the communities that they build. They've made it impossible, in other words, for us to guarantee that the City of Toronto will be as worthwhile to live in 20 years from now as it is today. And that's a fundamental thing that we can't let go. Now, how we got here is important to remember. We should all remember that a third-party advertising organization called Ontario Proud received $400,000 from large developers in Ontario to influence this current election. And I, for one, am not surprised at all that one of the very first things this government has done is to gut planning law. I'm not saying that it was a $400,000 direct payment, but boy, the coincidence is strong. And we have a duty to make sure that money isn't what sets law and policy in the province of Ontario and in the City of Toronto. We have a duty to make sure that we are actually building communities based on what the people who live in the City of Toronto want. Developers don't care, frankly, what the City of Toronto will be like 20 years from now, because the way the system works, they come in, they make their application, they get their financing, they build their building, they take their profit, and they leave. And the mess they leave behind is up to us to try to manage. So I want to say to them very clearly today, some of you in the development industry were part of that $400,000 investment in the kind of city you want where you can make profit, but many in the development industry were not. And those people in the development industry who have worked successfully with the City of Toronto to build good buildings with parks and the necessary community centers and childcare, those developers need to speak up and speak up now. Sure, they can make a little bit more money, but they've often described themselves in meetings and town halls and right around the city as city builders. You know the ones, they come in, they've done multiple developments, they talk about how they believe in a green city and a sustainable city and how they want to provide community amenity and how they're in favor of affordable housing. Well, those developers need to look at this legislation and recognize that while it might mean money for them, it does not mean the city they have talked about in all the community meetings when they've defended their development applications, in all the meetings at community council where they send a lawyer to say, no, we're one of the good guys, and all the times they've come in to see us in our offices and said, no, we're not like other developers, we believe in a healthy city, we want to keep investing. Well, if you're that kind of developer, if you're the kind of developer who claims to believe that Toronto should continue to be a great place to live, you need to speak out today. You need to tell the province of Ontario, thanks but no thanks. We need, as developers, regulatory certainty. We need to understand that we're investing in a city, not just taking profit out of it. So if you're listening, you've heard from Councillor Layton, you've heard from me, you've heard from others. If you want a war is what you get. If you want to stand up for Toronto, now is your time.
Thank you. We do have some questions for you. Councillor Coe, clarification of the motion.
Could you please put the motion up, Madam Speaker? I just want to find out what the impact of this would be in my Ward 8. I have more applications than I think all of North America combined in my ward, almost as much as Councillor Layton.
Except for Councillor Cressy's ward.
Yeah.
And Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, so
Oh, now we're doing it.
you can have some of mine, okay?
No.
Please
No,
take
thanks.
some of mine. Anyways, the question I have, so I've got all these applications that are different stages right now. I've got different, every day I've got another application that's being proposed. I got one developer that tore down a historic building at one, you know the area well, North Toronto there. At Roselawn and Yonge, he tore down the historic Bank of Montreal. Now he wants to tear down the historic Ann Johnson Center and put up high-rises. So how would this work in this case here?
So if there was a theme in the report and the remarks from the chief planner today, the theme was, we don't know. There's so many pieces have been thrown up in the air here, and so little has been explained about how they're going to land. We don't know how this new community benefits plan will work. We don't know how we're going to manage an application deadline of 90 days when the public notice requirement is 20 days. We don't know how these major transit station areas are going to work. There's a ton we don't know. So what my motion says is, if this bill passes, and I hope it doesn't, I hope common sense prevails, and in the best judgment of the chief planner and the planners, they look at it and say, well, you know, in this kind of area, we just don't know what the rules are, put on an H. Tell the developers, sorry, we're not letting you go ahead in an environment of uncertainty. We have an obligation as a government to make sure there are clear rules and we can clearly understand how the community is going to absorb that development. So I can't tell you site by site, and that's why I've asked the chief planner to use his best judgment to tell us where we need to put the brakes on.
In terms of the holding bylaw, the H, which would basically freeze development at that location, could it be multiple locations? Like, for instance, I've got, I don't know how many in Dufferin and Yorkdale area coming at me. So could I ask for an H for the chief planner to look at maybe freezing that whole area, Dufferin and Yorkdale?
So again, I don't even know what a good metaphor to explain this is, but we have an enormously complex planning process with a dozen or 100 moving parts. If in the chief planner's wisdom, the law that's passed doesn't give us an ability to do clear planning with a clear set of rules in some parts of the city, maybe employment lands, maybe around transit stations, maybe where we own a lot of public property and want to imagine affordable housing, maybe, maybe. So I can't give you a specific answer, Councillor Cole, but what I can tell you is what I'm trying to do is to make sure that if the province is foolish enough to pass this law as it's currently drafted, and we wind up in a circumstance that's as chaotic as I imagine it will be, the chief planner will be in a position to tell us what to do.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson to speak.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have motions I'd like to place, and I would just start by walking through them very quickly. The first motion is about really providing online resource and a public guide to communicate the impacts of Bill 108. I don't think residents fully understand, nor do we, the full impacts of this, and we may not even know them for years to come, which is unsettling in itself. But I think it's really important to be able to communicate effectively to our residents in a clear and concise manner and accessible. Number two, this is about the Young Eglinton Secondary Plan, which still sits before the Minister. Council adopted that in July of 2018 fully and unanimously, and we would like that plan approved. And so I'm asking once again to send that message to the Minister that the City Council approved this and we would like it to move forward. Number three, the third item is basically to provide compensation to the City of Toronto for the number of appeals that are going to increase, the litigation that's going to increase. If these proposed legislative changes come into effect, the province needs to pay. So we're going to have more costs around lawyers and planners, and they like to say growth for growth. We all like to say growth for growth. So number four is just related to the TTC. I think there will be impacts on the TTC. The pie is going to be smaller, and I believe that the pie can only go so far. So I think there will be delays and potential revenue loss, or any potential risks, delays, revenue loss we need to be fully informed on. I just want to start my comments by acknowledging the work of the team that's on page 35 of this report, Carrie, Rob, Anne Marie, and Kelly. I know how hard these four staffers, and it was an interdivisional team, which is very impressive onto itself, but I know they worked long hours pulling this together, and I'm sure their associates and colleagues as well, but it's a very impressive report. It's one of the best I've ever seen. And I just wanted to acknowledge this dream team that pulled this together. Bill 108 will be devastating for our neighbourhoods. We are a city of neighbourhoods. That's what we pride ourselves on. And this legislation is very discouraging. It's a step backward after years and years of hard work and neighbourhood advocacy. As we've heard over and over again, these changes are going to profit developers at the expense of the residents of our city. And I think it's really putting our livability at stake. We want to build complete communities, livable neighbourhoods, and this is not the path we want to go down. So if you look at the themes, one is the return to the OMB, and I actually think this is creating more duplication, which the province boasts about getting away from, and redundancy. It's going to be the same review twice. And once again, Toronto will be left out in defining our own neighbourhoods. Number two, the community benefits. I don't think we, again, I'm going to repeat myself, understand the full impacts of this and won't maybe for years to come. But this is going to impact the city's public realm. This is going to impact our green infrastructure and our playgrounds, and as we heard from our senior staffer, even water. Trying to get water in place, water pipes, etc. So all these things that I've just identified even going from gray back to green, all of these things are in jeopardy. Again, very disconcerting. The last thing is the limiting the development review timeframes. I don't know if you've looked at the numbers of where we were, where we had moved to under the LPAT, and now what we're going back to, but we've lost a huge amount of time in our ability for our staff to review these applications and report to City Council. And so we all know what that means. The development-friendly system works again, and our rigorous development review process that we have in place, we have some of the most professional, impressive planners in all of North America on our team, will not be influencing the future of this city. So I hope you'll support these motions. I would just wrap up really, end my comments by saying, doing a little shout out to the John Fisher parents, who, when council decided that maybe a 6 to 8 story mid-rise should go up beside John Fisher last term, maybe we'd give them a few more stories and go up to 12. So council said, we'll give you 12 stories. The OMB determined that 35 would just be fine. And so John Fisher parents worked actively on
Thank you, Councillor
reforming the OMB. So thank you to them.
We do have a question. Councillor Matlow, clarification of the motion.
No, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Robinson, for your motion. Just to clarify for our colleagues who may not remember why we did Midtown in Focus, was Midtown in Focus not exactly what we are all discussing today, which should be the planning process, which is a deeply consultative plan that reforms the secondary plan for Yonge and Eglinton and the neighborhoods around it to ensure that while there is growth, that growth is at a reasonable dimension, and then also ensures that the focus is on quality of life, childcare, school capacity. You know about those TDSB signs that say that your kid may not go to the local school in our neighborhoods at Yonge and Eglinton. Infrastructure, heritage preservation, parks, infrastructure, all of the above. That really is what Midtown in Focus is about, isn't it?
Absolutely. So that's a great snapshot of how we should be planning in Toronto, how we should be defining our neighborhoods and ensuring that we have the infrastructure. You've just given a number of great examples. We have the infrastructure to support the level of development. And I don't have to tell you, it's been quite aggressive in the Yonge Eglinton area. Most of us, the three of us, spend most of our evenings at public meetings. So, and there's lots more coming down the pike.
Now,
so absolutely, correct.
Is it not true that after we worked with our communities, we worked closely with planning staff, it was approved unanimously by council, submitted to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, is it not true that now it has been lingering, sitting somewhere on his desk, figuratively, for all these months, including an extension on the deadline to review it and approve it? Meanwhile, there's no pause on all the applications coming forward, but we don't have the protections of the secondary plan to make sure that quality of life is the priority over just more development.
Exactly, and so that's why I've identified it today. This was approved by council last term, last July, and we worked hard to get that wrapped up by the end of the term, not just the city councillors, but planning staff and the residents. So we should have heard by now, and we haven't. It's been extended. And that's simply not acceptable because, as you're saying, more applications come in and it continues to be the Wild West.
And what happens, last question, what happens if the minister does not approve it?
Well, that's terrifying because then we're back into an arena that would really let developers, and I use the David and Goliath example, developers really run Yonge and Eglinton.
And all that hard work by our communities, our professional planning staff, and those of us who represent the area may die on the minister's desk rather than actually protect the quality of life of those neighborhoods.
Yeah, the public consultation was unprecedented on that file.
Clarification of the motion, Councillor Cole.
I see that up on the screen, please.
It's right in front of you.
No, it's not.
It's on your desk.
Wait, I'm looking for it. There's so many on my desk here, it's hard to make up, like about 20 of them. Anyways, I have a question for clarification.
Oh, sure.
In part 1, you say the City Council directs City Manager and City Planner to develop an online resource. I'm worried about that because I've got many of my residents that don't go to online for their information. They need face-to-face conversations, they need telephone calls, they read newspapers, they read bulletins, flyers. Can we include in your motion for the people out there that don't spend their whole time with their thumbs on their device for some kind of resources beyond the online stuff?
So that's why I did include a public guide to communicate the impacts of Bill 108 in a clear and accessible format. So the online resource is also in addition to the public guide. So maybe it's just the running order of those
So
those
public
words.
guide means like printed material that they can read and touch and feel? Not online. It wouldn't be online, the guide.
No, we could, I mean, that's really up to council, but I'm not a big fan of a lot of paper, but absolutely, if you think that's makes
Well,
it more
I'm
accessible.
a fan of people being able to have paper
Okay.
when they want it, because not all people are online.
So I guess we can, then we can clarify that that public guide is a document.
Thank you.
Councillor Fletcher.
Speaker, I have a motion here. City Council requests the Chief Planner, Executive Director, City Planning, to send a copy of the report, our May 14th report, from the Chief Planner and Executive Director, City Planning, to all residents, associations, and all residents who have been involved in development applications, with a letter from the Chief Planner and Executive Director, City Planning. So unfortunately, I wasn't here. I apologize for not being here this morning. I was suffering from some food poisoning, but I did watch you all make tremendous points this morning, ask great questions, so I feel like I've been involved in this. And one of the things that we really have to do is let those who have been involved and interested in development actually understand where things are. And it's great for us to have this debate, and there might be a few lines in one of the media or covered in some way, but really people have spent, as Councillor Robinson said, they've spent hours and days and months on development applications. They've poured a lot of their life into this. And now, I think they need to know exactly what City Council has passed. And that will also probably include the any amendments or add-ons. And I think it's important that those who have attended meetings, we can think of some of those meetings, and some of the stakeholder groups, they truly do need to understand the new reality if Bill 108 is actually brought into force. Because they need to hear directly from our chief planner. It's not a development application, so they're not going to be notified. But I think we really have to make sure everybody's up to date and alongside of us. Most people, and many people actually, can get this by email, because when they sign up for planning, meetings to be involved and kept up to date on developments, they put their email down. So that's, I think, a letter from Mr. Lintern saying this is what happened to City Council and how concerned we are. I don't really care about the form, but I do think there's a covering letter saying this is, you've been involved in development and you must see this. Or unless it, I don't want to start second guessing coming from the mayor or whatever, I don't care. Could come from the mayor, could come from Councillor Bylaws, could come from our chief planner, but I've got chief planner here. And that's really incumbent on us. It's easy, it's simple to do. Let's bring people along with us in this. And last summer, when all the seats were changed, there was a lot of people that were upset. We knew what that would mean. And I think that the public wasn't quite as upset. I do think public that follow development, that have been involved, that have gone to the OMB, that have welcomed the changes in making sure that development at its best fits in the community, that city councillors and community have a very big impact on what that development will look like, and will be very interested in our position. We are seeming to go backwards here. This is another bolt from the blue sending us backwards. It's downloading problems because we're not going to have enough finances to do the things we want to do. And it's uploading all of the decision-making about our neighborhoods one more time to an OMB that will have a narrower framework because we don't have any ability to negotiate the mitigation strategies for some of these developments. When I heard the number of child care centers that are in jeopardy, along with the subsidies that will be lost in the provincial budget, it's truly frightening. And I also want to just talk about the infrastructure and the sewers. I appreciate Councillor Perks's H. I actually think in downtown area with those sewers that are 100 years old, some of them, there just needs to be an H, because I don't think we can take unbridled development, all of the water going into those sewers, and then flooding so many basements in my ward and Councillor Bradford's ward, practically underwater. We've had an EA done, but all of that stormwater all comes down and goes to one or two places in the city. So I'm very pleased with this report. I'm not pleased with the actions, and I do want to thank our Chief Planner for an excellent report and for his team. You've got a solid, fantastic team here, and to turn this around like that, it just shows the tremendous professionalism that we have here at our city.
Thank you. Councillor Perruzza.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, this is another one of those ones where you kind of shake your head at and you say, like, what's really going on here? I remember a long time ago, I was a newly elected trustee, and we were debating something, and one of the things that one of the older folks on the board kept saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, you know, maybe I was a young guy and didn't quite understand that, but I understand that far, far better now. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Development isn't being hindered in Toronto. Development isn't being hindered anywhere across the province of Ontario. It's humming along lickety-split. You know, every time I talk to the unions, they say they can't get enough workers.
That's the big problem.
They can't get the tradespeople to build stuff. That's why there's 167,000 units here approved in the City of Toronto, but ain't being built. It's because you don't have the tradespeople and the machines to build it. So along come the Conservatives at Queen's Park, and they say, oh my God, this is broken. These guys are not being able to build enough of this housing fast enough. So therefore, you know what we do? Tell you what we do. Let me say that another way. I was at a meeting the other night at the corner of Weston and Finch. Guy wanted to build a little building there. And can I tell you what people were saying at that meeting? Where's our parks? Where's our daycare? Where's our library? Where's our community center? You're bringing all of these new people into the area. You know, where's our road space? Where's our transit? How do you serve that development? That's what they were asking. That's what they wanted to know. So along come the Conservatives at Queen's Park and they say, oh, this is broken. We need to fix it. How do we fix it? I'll tell you how we fix it. The developers get to write a blank check. They get to do what they like, build what they like, as high and as much as they want. Short the day from 120 days to 90 days to appeal. Go to the Ontario Municipal Board, get what you like. We're going to cap all these formulas. And you know what, guys? You're not going to be able to charge the developers nothing. Why? Because the developers have been screaming that the system is broken. You've all been hearing that loud and clear, yeah? When was the last time a developer came to show you plans in your office and say, by the way, the system is broken. I can't get this development out of here?
If they actually did it. Now, this is just asking.
I'll tell you when. You haven't heard that. Not in the past couple of decades. Because it's not broken. I remember driving along the 401 near Dixon, the Dixon exit during the provincial election. Big billboard. Doug Ford, picture Doug Ford. And the slogan was, what was the slogan again? Remind me, people. Oh, yeah. For the people. And underneath in italics it said, help is on the way. Well, it should have had a question mark and then with a little for whom is help on the way. I'll tell you who help was on the way for. Those developers that have been crying that they want to make more money. They haven't been making enough, so they want to make a little more. So what does Doug Ford and the Conservatives do? Say, let's give them a little more help. They need help. They need help. Well, somebody should have said to him, and I suspect they didn't think about this, but Premier, if you help them, then that means you got to raise property taxes on the other side, because then the people that you were going to try to help, they're going to have to pay more. Oh, you know what? Maybe somebody didn't say that to him. And he didn't focus in on that one.
6 more seconds.
But that's what he's doing. He's giving a break to developers who've been making billions of dollars. And you know who's going to pick up the tab for that? Torontonians through their property taxes. That's the kind of help that billboard should have said. Help is on the way for the developers, and Torontonians are going to pay for that.
Wrap up, Councillor Prutza. Thank you, Councillor Pasternak, for catching my attention. Councillor Nunziata.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You know, some of these motions that are presented, I don't have an issue with, but I do have an issue with one of the motions by Councillor Perks, and I'll tell you why. Because Councillor Cole, you may have a lot of development in your area, Councillor Robinson, other members of council that are downtown, but in areas in the suburbs, and I'm going to talk about my ward, where we need intensification. We are trying to revitalize Weston and Mount Dennis, where we have vacant storefronts that have been vacant for 30 years plus. We have a planning study, and we're trying to revitalize the whole area. We have the Up Express, we have the GO, we have the Eglinton Subway, and we have no development at all. Up in the stockyards at St. Clair and Keele, all vacant warehouses. We need intensification if we're going to have a goal at St. Clair and Keele. So you may have a lot of development, but I don't. We want development in our area. We need it. And I'll give you a perfect example of what we did in Weston with Rockport. With Rockport at 22 John Street, we just completed the development, and it was where we have the Up Express and the GO. It was a partnership with Metrolinx. So we have residential, we have affordable housing, Artscape came in, we have the Culture Hub, and we have the outdoor farmers market, all these benefits that we receive. And that is going to trigger other development in the area, which we need, because we have nothing. We have no retail. We have all vacant stores. So we want to intensify the area. St. Clair and Keele needs to be intensification as well. So by putting a hold on some of these areas, like I really feel that it may not benefit areas that we really need support. And Councillor Bylaw, you know options for homes, affordable housing. It's been 5 years since the planning staff has processed that application. Hasn't been processed yet. You know, like, I don't know. I mean, we need to promote development, and maybe some parts of the city you don't want it, that's fine, get rid of it. But we need good development, we need benefits, we need daycare centers, we need all these benefits and schools and libraries in our ward, and we're not going to get it if we don't have development. I think it's really important as well is that we have a public and private partnership that we did with Rockport. With that development application, we got a lot of benefits. It's one of the model projects that we have in the whole city. So I think we need more of that. And I don't want to stop development in my ward because I don't have any development. I have no Section 37. So I need that. So to put a holding, I have an issue with that. So I just had to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
some
of mine.
Yeah.
Give you all my development.
So I'm going to move on to the next speaker. I think we're done taking comments on the last speaker. Councillor Bylaw, the final speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I do have a motion, and the motion starts by reaffirming what the report says, that some of the concerns with the return to the Ontario Municipal Board, even though the name doesn't change, the reality is that we're bringing back the board. Also, the emphasis on the growth, paying for growth, and ensure that we don't get negatively impacted here in the city. And then a report that I think is really important, and I know that by speaking with a lot of my colleagues, people want to understand what is at risk in their own wards, and I think that it's also important for us to make sure that our MPPs, our counterparts, start to understand what some of these community centres, some of these daycares, some of these facilities that are going to be put at risk with the new legislation is. And also, as soon as the legislation is passed, I think it is important to get the financial impact that this is going to have on the city and planning changes. And finally, as Councillor Carroll mentioned, I think it is important to request the province to hold fulsome standing committee meetings on this matter. Madam Speaker, I would like to start by thanking staff. This was an incredible amount of work that was done in a very, very short time frame. And as said by several colleagues, it is one of the best reports I've seen in here. It is sensible, it is comprehensive, it is reasonable, and it is about planning a city that we can all be proud of. And I think what I got from the report and from what I listened to in the media about this legislation is that there's certain principles, and I think the main goals of the legislation that are very much in common with where we want to get. Affordability, of course we want to get affordability. There's actually certain things in the legislation that we're doing. They talk about secondary suites. We just discussed that last council meeting. About the missing middle. We're constantly talking about how to build more missing middle here in the city. The legislation talks about that. Certainty, of course we want certainty. And speeding up the process, we are in the final stages of an end-to-end review in our planning process. We've been in conversations with the industry. We've been in conversations here in the city to improve the process, and I think that we should always strive to improve the process, and we know that we can always do better. However, when we start going through the legislation, and that is I think what the concerns that were raised in here, when we start going through the legislation and you start looking into affordability, you start seeing that actually the money that we collect, for example, not a lot of it, I have to say, but the money that we collect for affordable housing, for example, it's getting scrapped. We're not going to be able to collect it anymore. The money, the inclusionary zoning, it's actually going to be limited. We're happy that it's not scrapped, but it's going to be limited. When we talk about certainty, what certainty does this now bring us? We have no idea what the transition period is going to look like. We have no idea what this is going to be bringing to the city with millions of dollars in capital projects, just where we don't know where it's going to end up. So I don't know what kind of certainty this actually brings to the process. And what certainty does it bring in having 1/3 of our employment lands now with a big uncertainty? What is actually this going to do to the land value of all these lands in our city? So how is this all going to translate to affordability to the purchaser and to the tenant? We have no idea. How is this going to be measured? We have no idea. And speed of the process? How long is this going to take? How long is this going to be, this transition? So I think that what we're saying, and then the recommendations and the report that staff put in front of us is extremely reasonable. We put all our knowledge at the table, and we're hoping that through some of these recommendations, we can actually get to where both want to get, which is bring some affordability, bring some certainty, and definitely have some speed in the process. I do want to tackle something that, I hear a lot of people saying that, this legislation was needed because councillors just cave in to NIMBYisms. They don't approve development, and so we need to take this power out of them because, there's too much NIMBYism in the process, there's too many NIMBYism in the municipal process. I don't know about many of you, and there's always a certain level of people that are very resistant to change, and we're not going to be able to.
Thank you.
If I could, I think I'm chair of the committee. I have an extra 2 minutes. That's right.
No, but this is, no, I'm sorry.
I just want to say something, Madam
Councillor
Speaker.
Bylaw, this didn't come from the committee.
Oh, okay. I tried.
Okay, we're ready to vote. So the motions are in numeric order. Okay, if we can put the motions on the screen. Okay, 1A is on the screen. All in favor? Recorded vote? Okay.
Motion 1A carries 25-1.
Second motion. All in favor? Carried. Motion 2 by Councillor Coe. Recorded.
Councillor Robinson, your vote, please.
The motion carries unanimously, 26 in favor.
Motion 3. Recorded.
Councillor Perruzza, your vote, please. That's my side. Yep. I just turned off.
The motion carries 22 to 4.
Motion 4. Recorded vote.
Okay, my side.
Councillor Thompson, please.
The motion carries 22 to 4.
Motion 5. On favor? Carried. Motion 6. Recorded on motion 5? Recorded vote on motion 5.
Okay.
Councillor Karygiannis, please.
Councillor Perruzza, please.
Motion 5 carries 25 to 1.
Motion 6. Recorded vote.
Motion number 6 carries 24 to 2.
Motion 7. On favor? Recorded.
Motion 7 carries 25 to 1.
CC 7.3. Councillor Ford has asked that we vote on a few of the motions separately. So there will be one vote for 1 to 9. Recorded vote.
Councillor Thompson, thank you.
Councillor
Councillor
Robin.
Cressy, please. Councillor Cressy.
The report recommendations 1 to 9 carry unanimously, 26 in favor.
Okay. No. Okay, so item as amended, recorded, balance of the item as amended, recorded vote. Is that, Councillor Ford, that's what you wanted, correct? Okay.
Councillor Ainsley, please.
Councillor Robinson, please. Councillor Wong Tam, please.
The balance of the report recommendations and as amended carry 25 to 1.
Okay, we'll go to members' motions. MM 7.1. Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Etobicoke York Community Council. A 2/3 vote is required to waive referral. This motion relates to a Toronto local appeal body hearing and has been deemed urgent. All in favor of waiving referral? Carried. On the item, all in favor? Carried. MM 7.2. Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Executive Committee. A 2/3 vote is required to waive referral. All in favor of waiving referral? Carried. On the item, all in favor? Carried. MM 7.3. Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Infrastructure and Environment Committee. 2/3 vote is required to waive referral. All in favor? Who wants to hold it? Councillor Cole. Yeah, I know. It can't. Okay, hold on. We have to waive referral first before it's held down. All in favor of waiving referral? Carried. And it's held by Councillor Cole. MM 7.4. Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Executive Committee. A 2/3 vote is required to waive referral. Recorded vote to waive referral.
Councillor Grimes, please.
Councillor Karygiannis, please. Councillor Crawford. We'll wait for you.
Motion to waive referral carries unanimously, 26 in favor.
On the item, all in favor? Recorded vote.
Councillor Bailão, please. Councillor Matlow.
Councillor Perruzza, please.
The motion carries unanimously, 26 in favor.
MM 7.5, notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Economic and Community Development Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. All in favor of waiving referral, recorded vote.
Councillor Matlow, please.
Mayor Tory, please.
The motion to waive referral carries 24-2.
On the item, all in favor? Recorded. Who, I can't hear, who's hold, okay. Please, if there's if somebody can just please acknowledge that they want to hold it, it's hard for me to hear. Okay. MM 7.6. Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Economic and Community Development Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. All in favor of waiving referral? Recorded vote.
Councillor McKelvey, please. Councillor Layton, Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Wong Tam, please.
The motion to waive referral carries unanimously 26 in favor.
On the item, all in favor? Carried. Recorded vote.
Councillor Matlow, please. Councillor Ford, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Bailao.
The item carries unanimously 26 in favor.
MM 7.7, notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the North York Community Council. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. All in favor of waiving referral? Carried. Okay, Councillor Pruitt, if you want them all recorded, just tell me. You want them all recorded? Okay, recorded vote. Okay. This is on referral.
Councillor Wong Tam, please.
The motion to waive referral carries 24-2.
On the item? You want recorded vote on the item as well? Recorded vote. Recorded vote.
Councillor Karygiannis, please.
Councillor Rob. Oh, thank you.
Councillor Karygiannis, please.
The motion to adopt the item carries unanimously, 26 in favor.
MM 7.8, notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Etobicoke York Community Council. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. Recorded vote.
Thanks.
Councillor Madlow, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Ainsley, please.
Councillor Crawford, please. Councillor Crawford, your vote, please.
The motion to waive referral carries unanimously, 26 in favor.
On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Ainsley, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor
That's
Mallow,
options
Councillor
for homes.
Karygiannis, please.
5 years. 5 years it took. Okay.
Councillor Robinson, please.
The item carries unanimously, 25 in favor.
MM 7.9, notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Economic and Community Development Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. Recorded vote to waive referral.
Councillor Bradford, Councillor Holliday, Councillor Madlow, Councillor Ford, Councillor Bailao, please.
Councillor Crawford, please. Councillor Perks, please. And Councillor Wong Tam, please.
Councillor Crawford, please.
The motion to waive referral carries unanimously, 25 in favor.
On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Madlow, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Bailao, please.
Councillor Wong Tam, please. Councillor Robinson, please. And Councillor Pasternak, please.
The item is adopted, 24 to 1.
MM 7.10, notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Executive Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. All in favor of waiving referral, recorded vote.
Councillor Holliday, please.
Councillor Perruzza, please. And Councillor Pasternak, when you're seated. Thank you.
The motion to waive referral carries 23 to 2.
On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Karygiannis, please.
Councillor Wong Tam, please.
The item is adopted unanimously, 25 in favor.
MM 711, Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Economic and Community Development Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. All in favor of waiving referral? Recorded.
Councillor Ainsley, please.
Councillor Robinson, please.
The motion to waive referral carries 23 to 2.
On the item,
Councillor Cressy, please. Councillor Matlow. Councillor Fletcher, please. Councillor Fletcher, your vote, please.
where's the mayor?
The item is adopted 23 to 2.
MM 712. Notice if this motion has been given, this motion is subject to referral to the Toronto and East York Community Council. Two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. This motion relates to a Toronto local appeal body hearing and has been deemed urgent. All in favor of waiving referral, recorded vote.
The motion to waive referral carries 24 to 1.
On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor
Councillor
Wong
Thompson,
Tam, please. Sorry.
The item is adopted 24 to 1.
MM 714. Notice if this motion has not been given, a two-thirds vote is required to waive notice. This motion is subject to referral to the Economic and Community Development Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. All in favor of waiving notice? All in favor? Carry. You want a recorded vote on the notice? He want a recorded vote. No, he wants a recorded vote on everything. No, he just said he wanted a recorded. Recorded. Okay, Councillor Perruzza, are you asking for recorded vote on the notice? Okay, well, we'll leave it. Okay, all in favor of waiving notice? Carried. All in favor of waiving referral? Carried. On the item? Recorded. We're voting on the item now.
Members, we cancel the previous vote. We're restarting the vote on the item. So your buttons may be lit up. Please be sure you've pressed a vote. Councillor Mallow, please, on the item. Councillor Ford. is, oh,
Counselor Wong Tam, please. Counselor Filion. Counselor Crawford, please. And Counselor Grimes, please.
The item is adopted unanimously, 25 in favor.
MM 715, notice of this motion has not been given. A two-thirds vote is required to waive notice. This motion is subject to referral to the Infrastructure and Environment Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. All in favor of waiving notice? Recorded.
Counselor Karagianis, Counselor Bylaw, please.
Mayor Tory, please.
The motion to waive notice carries 21 to 2.
All in favor of waiving referral? Recorded vote.
The motion to waive referral carries 22 to 2.
Counselor Cressy is holding the item down. MM 716. Notice that this motion has not been given. A two-thirds vote is required to waive notice. This motion is subject to referral to the Planning and Housing Committee. A two-thirds vote is required to waive referral. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. Recorded vote to waive notice.
Counselor Robinson, please. And Counselor Crawford, please. Oh.
The motion to waive notice carries 24 to 1.
All in favor of waiving referral? Recorded vote.
Counselor Robinson, please. Counselor Carroll, please.
Counselor Matlow, please.
Counselor Carroll, your vote, please.
Counselor Matlow, your vote, please. Yes.
The motion to waive referral carries 25 to 1.
On the item, all in favor? Carried. MM 7717. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion has been added to the agendas before council for debate. Recorded vote.
Councillor Robinson, please, and Councillor Wong-Tam, please.
Councillor Matlow, please, and Councillor Thompson.
The item is adopted unanimously, 26 in favor.
MM 718. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion been added to the agenda is before council for debate. Recorded vote.
Councillor Layden, please. Councillor Bailao.
Councillor Wong-Tam, please.
The item is adopted unanimously, 26 in favor.
MM 719. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion has been added to the agenda before council for debate. On the item, all in favor, recorded vote.
Councillor Karygiannis, please, and Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Pasternak, please, and Councillor Wong-Tam, please.
The item carries unanimously, 26 in favor.
MM 720. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion has been added to the agenda and is before council for debate. On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Bradford. Councillor Karygiannis, please.
Councillor Crawford, please, and Councillor Wong-Tam, please.
The item carries 25 to 1.
MM 721. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion has been added to the agenda before council for debate. On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Fillion, please. And Councillor Pasternak, please.
The item carries 25 to 1.
MM 722. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion has been added to the agenda before council for debate. On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Robinson, please.
Councillor Matlow. Councillor Karygiannis, please.
The item is adopted 24 to 1.
MM 7.23. This motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to a vote to waive referral. This motion has been added to the agendas before council for debate. On the item, I'm sorry? 23 you'd like to hold? Okay. That's fine. Okay, MM 7.24. Note, this motion has been deemed urgent by the chair. This motion is not subject to vote to waive referral. This motion been added to the agenda and is before council for debate. On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Bailão, please.
Councillor Robinson.
The item is adopted unanimously, 26 in favor.
Okay. So we'll now go to CC 7.1, which is the Ombudsman Annual Report. Sorry, Councillor Thompson? Pardon?
Sorry, I'm just waiting for my mic to be turned on.
Yes. Sorry.
Just before we go to that item, I had held MM 7.5. I had some questions of staff, and I was able to get the answers, and I'm satisfied with respect to the answers that I've received. So there's no real complication or concerns for me further with respect to this motion. So I'd like to basically release this now, because I may leave before.
Yeah, that's fine.
May
Yeah.
I, if I may?
Thank you.
Okay.
So Councillor Thompson is releasing MM 7.5. On favor? Carried. Okay. Okay.
Madam
could
Chair,
start.
I'm pleased to present the highlights of Ombudsman Toronto's 2018 annual report this afternoon. I have only 6 slides, so I won't take much of Council's valuable time. On the screen, you will see our work in 2018 by the numbers. And I think it's really significant to note that everything referred to in this report and all of the positive changes that have resulted from the work reported on this small team has been done by 11 permanent staff positions, plus myself. I want to salute the dedicated and hard-working team at Ombudsman Toronto, who works very, very hard day in, day out to enhance administrative fairness at the city. Just 3 key numbers on this screen that I'd like to highlight for you, for Council. In 2018, we handled more than 2,000 cases, which is up almost 30% from 2017. Secondly, we made 56 formal recommendations to improve fairness in how the city serves people. And the last number I'd like to highlight is that we conducted 10 consultations with city staff. And this is when we work with city staff proactively on processes or systems that they are designing or refining in order to ensure that administrative fairness is built into those. And we hear very often now, when we're designing something, we ask ourselves, what would the Ombudsman say? What would the Ombudsman tell us to do in this instance? Which we feel is a very valuable endorsement of the work that we do and the education that we provide. In terms of where our complaints originate, this has really stayed remarkably consistent over the years. We have always received about double the number of complaints from Toronto and East York as from any of the other 3 quadrants. We continue to do targeted outreach in Etobicoke, York, Scarborough, and North York. And I would just like to say that for councillors who represent wards in those areas particularly, we are always available and very keen to partner with you on outreach of any kind. So if you're having a community fair or some other event and you see a role for me or my staff, please let us know. We'd be very happy to participate. In terms of fairness problems that we found in 2018, as usual, communication failures make up the biggest proportion of those. Public organizations and public servants need to provide information in a way that people can understand. And at least as importantly, if not more so, they need to listen to the people that they're serving. The best way to do this, in our experience, is for public servants and city staff to try to put themselves in the shoes of the member of the public with whom they are communicating. What information would they want to receive, in what form, and wouldn't they want to be listened to as well if they had concerns or questions? It's really pretty simple, but it's something that we see year after year is a problem and a challenge in many of the cases we review. This is our administrative fairness triangle. As you know, the job of my office is to stand up for administrative fairness. And as a matter of law, every person who deals with the City of Toronto government is entitled to the three kinds of fairness in this triangle in every single interaction that they have with city staff. They're entitled to a fair process, a fair outcome, and fair treatment. What each of these parts of the triangle will require is, of course, very context-specific, but all three parts of the triangle always apply in every transaction, in every administrative act. This is how we approach our work, and this is how we advise and educate city staff that they should be approaching their work. Just a few quick examples of the impact of our work in 2018. Our work led to an overhaul of a broken transfer process for TCHC tenants. It led to significantly improved communication, coordination, and conditions in the city's respite sites for people experiencing homelessness. We had a terrible winter weather-wise this year, but we had a remarkably relatively and remarkably trouble-free winter in terms of these services. And if you look back a year before, it was a disaster, and there were communication and coordination problems that caused very, very serious concern. That was the impact of our work. As a result of our work, there is now better monitoring and enforcement of Section 37 agreements with developers. I know that the future of Section 37 is up in the air, but as long as it exists and those agreements are happening, they're being better enforced and monitored. And the rules for front yard parking, which were previously inconsistent and in fact contradictory, have now been harmonized. All of this is the result of the work of that very small team to which I referred earlier. This is our 10th annual report. This report marks a decade of this office working to make city services fairer. And this slide shows some cumulative numbers of what we have done over those 10 years. Before I close and answer any questions that councillors or the mayor may have, I just want to say a word about a person who has been involved in all of this work that you see on the slide above, and who in fact has overseen it. Kwame Addo, our Director of Investigations and Conflict Resolution, joined the Office of the Ombudsman 10 years ago on the day that it opened. And recently I announced, and I'm sure you are aware, that he is actually leaving to go and assume the exciting and important role of Ombudsperson at Ryerson University. So I just would like to publicly thank Kwame for all of his contributions to the city and to our office. He's away in Europe celebrating his wedding anniversary, unfortunately. I wish he were here to receive your thanks in person, but certainly I will pass on your gratitude, because I know that you share my view that Ryerson's gain is certainly the city's loss. Thank you. Those are all my comments on the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, Madam Speaker.
Questions? No. Councillor Fillion to speak.
Oh, question. Sorry, I put the wrong.
Well, there was nobody there. Councillor Carroll?
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. My questions are about some of the case stories, and they're not a part of your presentation. But I note that where we began, there seemed to be there was a focus on housing and shelter, things that kept repeating. We have everything here down to a naturalized garden dispute and a dissatisfied BIA member. Are you tracking how many divisions have ended up using your services, or are we at the point where we can honestly say all?
I think we're at the point where we can pretty well say that we receive complaints across the 45 divisions in the city. And of course, as you know, Councillor Carroll, we also oversee many other, almost all other agencies, corporations, and adjudicative bodies. So we get a broad range of complaints about a broad range of respondents.
Right. The case that was quoted about a naturalized garden is one that that has happened in my ward a number of times, and I'm wondering, I don't recall that, did that come to City Council in a report, or it was simply resolved to your satisfaction, the answers you got back from staff about introducing a technology report?
We didn't publicly report on it other than here.
So it probably doesn't surprise you to know that that was happening again and again. People get an exemption for a naturalized garden, and then they have to reprove that they have this exemption every time the
Year
spring
after
flies.
year. Yes.
Was not bringing it here, not getting the investigation to a point where it was actually reported here so it would be flagged for us, is that a resource issue, or it was a time issue not including it?
Well, every day, through you, Madam Speaker, every day we face resource issues in terms of where we are going to put our very limited resources. And of course, making something into an investigation rather than an informal inquiry takes time and costs money. Doing a formal report takes time and costs money. So we expend our resources in the way that we feel is most effective and efficient within our means. But most certainly, I hope to bring it to your attention through this report, and if you or any of your colleagues, Councillor Carroll, has this problem again or wishes to discuss the matter further, we'd be very happy to do so.
So in fact, we really do need to read the cases in the annual report, because in fact there are things where we should maybe be raising it at a standing committee, following up on whether or not what was committed to is actually happening. But because of the resource issue in terms of your investigations, staffing, and whether or not you have enough to do it, we've debated that a number of times but not increased it yet. We need to know that there are investigations like that. We're just not getting them unless we read the annual report.
I think, through you, Madam Speaker, I think that's fair. We would never be able to do a formal report on every single case that we do, because we do over 2,000, as I've mentioned. But you know, if we had more resources, we would be better able to have more transparency and to report more fully on more cases.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Ainslie.
Sorry? Oh, sorry, got distracted. I should say sorry. I apologize. I wanted to ask about the slide that you had, fairness problem. You said no communication 33% of the time. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Certainly. It's not no communication 33% of the time. If I misspoke, yes, through you, Madam Speaker, it's poor or inadequate communication. It's communication problems, communication breakdown, which basically either means the information wasn't provided in a fair and effective way, or conversely, information that the member of the public wished and needed to convey wasn't received in a fair and adequate way.
Oh, okay, so it's a communication problem both ways, you mean?
It's a communication breakdown, but for which the city staff is responsible, not the member of the public.
Oh, okay, because I was just surprised by that chart that 33% of the issues in that chart and non-communication was by far the largest.
The pie chart, I can put it up again if they'll put my slides back up. I'm not sure if the IT people are listening, but the circle, the 100% was all the fairness. Yeah, we can look in the book. Page 19.
Yep.
So the circle, the entire circle represents all of the fairness problems that we found. And of those, 38.3% related to questions of communication. And this, again, is consistent year over year.
And that's consistent year over year?
Yes, it is.
Okay, wow. Okay. The other question I have was around the issues you had around Section 37 and could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, through you, Madam Speaker, we do have a published report on our website having to do with the way that Section 37 agreement was monitored and overseen with respect to the historic Mimico train station. I believe I brought the report to council, in fact. There had been a Section 37 agreement for restoration of an old train station in a park. Yep. And we found that the communication both internally, here's the communication again, the communication internally and also with a community group that had a great interest and investment in this project fell well below the standard that the public would expect. And the result was that the requirements or the obligations of the developer on that Section 37 agreement were never actually fulfilled because the city had not held that developer's feet to the fire to ensure that that happened. So some changes resulted to try to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Was that an isolated instance, or do you get that a lot with Section 37 developers across the city, or?
I couldn't really say off the top of my head. I'd have to get back to you in terms of how many Section 37 type complaints we get. But we certainly, once we looked into this one example, we looked at we took a more systemic approach to reviewing what processes and systems existed to follow up, and we found that they needed some retooling.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you to you yourself and your staff for all the work and the comprehensive report too.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. Councillor Fillion, you had some questions?
Thank you. Just when you make recommendations, how often are they implemented, if you have any way of tracking that? And is there a follow-up mechanism to see how often they're implemented?
Through you, Madam Chair, we always build into the report a pledge to follow up, and we always follow up to ensure that the recommendations have been implemented to our satisfaction. If it were to happen that a recommendation were not implemented, then we would always have the option to bring the matter back to council to highlight that and bring it to your attention. What we do find, I will say, is that sometimes it takes longer than we would like, or than maybe even city staff would like, to fully implement the recommendations, but we just stay on them. And we create a chart after the matter is complete with each recommendation, and we have them say when's this going to be done and who's it going to be done by and what's the status. And then we follow up quarterly generally until we're satisfied that it's done.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fillion. Councillor Perks, you had some questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Ombudsman. So in your presentation, I noted it down, you said you had 2,100 cases, which is a 30% increase over last year. Is that a one-off, or has it been steadily climbing, or what's the trend?
I would say in general it has been steadily climbing.
And have the resources available to you to meet that growing demand been provided by council?
Through you, Madam Speaker, no, they haven't. Well, no increased resources have been provided to reflect the growing demand.
I see. Some of the cases that you manage are what I would call a complex case. So, for example, I recall when the Ombudsman's office went into the issue of evictions at Toronto Community Housing. That was a very complex investigation and probably took additional staff resources. Would you say that your ability to do those larger, more complex cases has been at all compromised by the increased workload?
Through you, Madam Deputy Speaker, it has been directly compromised.
Thank you. Following up on the questions that Councillor Ainsley asked, the large category of complaints around communication. So those come out of specific complaints and you just tally them up. That's not that you had a complex or large system-wide look at communications in the city. That's just mathematically all the small cases adding up. Am I getting that right?
Through you, Madam Deputy Speaker, yes, you are, Councillor Perk.
Maybe I'll turn to the city manager. I've noted now in every year where the Ombudsman aggregates the statistics this way, this is the largest category. I was wondering if you, as the head of the Toronto Public Service, have turned your mind or would consider turning your mind to the fact that this seems to be an endemic problem across the city.
So if I can, through the speaker, this is certainly a topic that begins with the table that I sit at every Monday morning with all of the senior leadership of this organization. It's virtually impossible to earn someone's trust and confidence if you can't communicate to them in a way in which you're understood. I think too often we communicate in a way that we're heard maybe, but we're never thinking as much as we should about being understood. And if I could just draw your attention to a comment that was made earlier, Councillor Carroll, in fact, when our head of planning did a presentation, she made the comment that the presentation was done in such a manner that she could take it to her constituents and they would understand what is a very complex, wide-ranging issue, but communicate it in a way that is highly effective. And that is the essence to a lot of what public service ought to be about. So to drive this message, not just at the table I'm at, but with our corporate leadership team, so the 44 heads of our organization, and to get people to understand that, sometimes we got to step outside of our worlds and deal with the world that we're actually paid to serve, which is our constituents and yourselves, and to not only communicate more effectively, but to avoid the problems that we have sometimes where we communicate very narrowly and we don't provide the context in which we may be providing advice. This is a cultural thing that I think is not unique to Toronto, but it is something that, again, I think in terms of my priorities, this is something that is being routinely communicated to everyone you see sitting here and will be throughout the entire organization. So it is the 38%, I'm surprised it's not higher. Because this is, I think, one of the real problems that we suffer from as civil servants sometimes is, communicating to be understood.
Thank you to the city manager and thank you to the Ombudsman. That was quite helpful.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher. Councillor Fletcher.
Hello. I just wondered on that map that you have to the Ombudsman, you've got a map that shows 43%, 18, 18, 18 as far as those who are, where your inquiries are coming from. And I'm just wondering if it's helpful if you add in the kind of population. 43% of the inquiries actually in the Toronto East York, it's much more, there's more people there than, let's say, in Etobicoke. So it kind of looks like we're hogging you, but it's our citizens are more numerous than in some of the other community councils. Would that be something that you could address? And
Through you, Madam Speaker, I'm embarrassed that I hadn't thought of that. I think I thought of it once a long time ago, but I kind of forgot. Yes, I think that is a very relevant observation, and certainly next year, when we report this, we will endeavor to do it in a way that takes into account population discrepancies. Thank you, Councillor Fletcher.
because really there's, I think, 11 members of a community council, or 8 or 9, and others have 5 members, so there really is a discrepancy in population, and that's why there's a discrepancy in pardon me? In what? I'm sorry. How we receive what, Councillor?
You were talking to the councillor.
No, you were speaking to me.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That would be helpful. And then just to the city manager, Speaker.
City manager, Councillor Peruzza, to the city manager.
Busted.
Totally. To the speaker, if you could repeat your question.
He's the
No, I
one
was
that
just saying
wanted
your
the
name over
recorded
and over
votes,
again.
too.
City manager.
Okay.
I just wondering, when there's chronic problems, and either you or the Ombudsman, so we had a report come through Toronto Hydro and their relationships with these telephone poles that weren't great, and then the same day or so as we got the report, the same thing happened on one of the lawns, and then 2 days ago in the Fixer, there was something where somebody woke up, they didn't acknowledge in my ward where there was a change in date of all of the power going out, and so people left the building and nothing happened, and they were highly inconvenienced. So I just don't know how we're overseeing some of these customer service issues that the Ombudsman has said should happen. We seem to leave it only up to the organization. Is there any greater oversight to insist on accountability around some of the Ombudsman's recommendations that Council has approved?
So
Sorry
I
for such a
think-
long question.
No, through the speaker, I think in some ways what you're saying, the belts and suspenders approach to making sure that the recommendations are being followed through, not just by the party that they're directed at, but we ultimately are the shareholder, and we have a responsibility to make sure that it is in fact being followed through on. So, I mean, that would be something that I know does come through my office, and we're the ones that are responsible for keeping track of the direction that's happening, and should be, along with the, the Ombudsman, but as well as to make sure from our standpoint that we're convinced that the corrections or the improvements are being made. So that's something that, you would rely on my office to have kind of an overarching understanding of what in fact we are accomplishing. So can I tell you, in great detail how that is happening right now? I can't. But I know ultimately it is one of the responsibilities that we have.
And I'll just ask the Ombudsman, is that how you would interpret this? You're familiar with the hydro investigation, and then when it was at the council floor, they put a big hydro pole on one of the lawns of one of the people that had originally complained to you, and then I see the building on Cosburn, all the power was to be shut off over 2 days. They changed that and didn't notify anybody. And even Toronto Fire was on standby, because once you're turning all the power off, you have a different problem. Where and how do you expect your recommendations? I know that organizations and agencies accept your recommendations, but it's easy to say I'm going to do something. How do you see that accountability at the city side being ensured?
That was your last question.
Through you, Madam Speaker, with the resources that we have, as I said, we do follow up to ensure that the specific recommendations we made are implemented. But, they talk about the letter and the spirit of the law. We are not in a position to ensure that the spirit of the recommendations is implemented and enforced in the organization, whether it's the city, whether it's Toronto Hydro. Really the responsibility for that is Toronto Hydro, and probably, as Mr. Murray has said, the city as the shareholder, probably has a role in that. But my office of 11 people can't ensure that communication improves in every single sphere.
Okay, to speak, Councillor Fillion.
Yes, I just want to thank the Ombudsman for her work. It's not high profile, but it's very important nonetheless. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Carroll.
Madam Speaker, well, I heard that comment. I am satisfied with the report. But, Madam Speaker, the reason I rose to ask questions was because the thing I always look at in the annual report is the cases themselves. We get these brief précis of the cases that have followed throughout the year. And every year, it gets a little richer in terms of the areas in which we delve into. That should come as no surprise. What that means is more residents actually know that we have a thing called an ombudsman, and so they're reaching out to it. But I think it's important, because we're not resourcing the department as much as we'd like, and we had budget constraints. Heaven knows we now have 177 million more in budget restraints. So we're not doing that. But if you read those annual reports, that's the follow-up that Councillor Fletcher was asking about. Us reading those and saying, oh, so on this naturalized garden thing, licensing was asked to begin to implement a process to make sure that 311 knows the person has an exemption, and we stop bugging this person annually at great cost, sending a staff member out there to wind our way through the process again and again and again. And that costs money every single time. And so she asked for a process. One's been committed to. But because we're not resourcing this office, that report never came to us through the year. It's embedded somewhere deep in the annual report. And so if we're hoping to follow up on it in the committee, if one of us is in a committee where there's a corresponding opportunity to do that, we're not going to know to do it unless we're reading this annual report. And no one else is going to bring it up to your attention because this is an AO. Means it's not going to come up in a standing committee unless you take it there. It's an accountability office. They report here. So if there's one report on the agenda you read, this is the one you got to read. And then you do the follow-up. That's how that works. So I hope that people do take a quick look through the cases. They've also improved in the quality in which they're reported. They're very quick and easy to read. They start on page 22, and they'll give you a work plan for the rest of the year. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, I just want to follow up on the couple of points that I made with the Ombudsman and learned that she will in the future put it more in context, because I know that in the past when we're looking at this very important position, and I want to reiterate how important it is. It's sometimes the only way that citizens can get a breakthrough on the stone in their shoe that has been just driving them crazy. They can't get callbacks. Councillors' offices can't get through. When the Ombudsman comes in, she brings the party, she looks at it, and then there's a path forward to supposedly not repeat that mistake. And we do under-resource the Ombudsman's office for the number of inquiries that she gets from citizens and the number of things that she does. It's unlike any of the other offices. I mean, our Auditor General really reports to us. The Integrity Commissioner does not have that many citizen inquiries, and the Lobbyist Registrar is simply maintaining a registry. These are active investigations with citizens who have just hit the wall on things that are obviously very important to them. And a lot of the time, most of the time, they're substantiated and she gets to a resolve. There's the odd time that, you know what, it's just unresolvable, or perhaps it's more of a cranky inquiry rather than has substance. So outlining the population areas and the number of people that have been in touch with the Ombudsman's office to me is very important, because I don't want it to look like somehow that we're taking the lion's share of the Ombudsman. I think that probably when you put the Etobicoke numbers and the Toronto East York numbers together, population-wise, it would be about 36% if you had the same number of population in Etobicoke. So I'd very much appreciate having that comparator. And the other thing I just want to say is my frustration with having the Ombudsman office determine that there's certain things that have to be done better. One of our corporations indicating that, yes, they would do all of those things better, and the same day that we're debating that, someone's gone out and done one of the same exact things on one of the same exact lawns that this report is about. I simply don't know how that happens unless not all agencies, boards, and commissions believe that they are actually under the Ombudsman and accountable and responsible for the sign-off. So again, another communications issue for Cosburn Apartments, where everybody had made arrangements to sleep somewhere else because they had no power, they had no water. Toronto Hydro decided they weren't going to do it that day, but nobody knew. So police had been warned that's happening. Fire had been on standby. The fire station is around the hall. How can that be? I may have to actually ask the Ombudsman to have another look at that. This is not good communication. And when we're finding what I'm just going to say, a recalcitrant corporation, then that's why I'm asking the city manager's office and say, this is your relationship with that corporation as the shareholder. What is it that would be done or said that would say, how could this continue? It's embarrassing I'm embarrassed for my residents who had all their power turned off without notice that it wasn't going to be turned off. I'm embarrassed for those who went through the poll debacle. And the Ombudsman is reporting back on the removal of the polls. I actually have met someone who said, that's not too difficult to do. Bell Canada guy said, that's not hard. We could take those polls out and move those on the other polls. So I'm just frustrated. I'm so frustrated with telling the Ombudsman you're going to improve, and then the next thing, you do exactly the same thing. I just think it's disrespectful of her. I think it's disrespectful of our citizens, and that there needs to be a look by the city manager saying, why aren't you living up to these recommendations that you've signed off on with the Ombudsman? Thank you.
Councillor Perks.
Thank you, Speaker. For most of yesterday's meeting and most of today's meeting, we were talking about how frustrating and impossible it is to deal with a government that doesn't consult, doesn't listen, doesn't communicate, and when they do communicate, it's often inaccurate. Every time I turn on the TV, I see the Mayor of the City of Toronto talking about how the provincial government doesn't treat anybody in the province of Ontario who has a different point of view than theirs with any respect. And I want us to be mindful of that when we listen to the Ombudsman today. That experience that we've had as a City of Toronto government is the experience that too many Torontonians have of the government that we oversee. And I was heartened to hear the city manager talk deeply and meaningfully about that challenge that we face, not just within our public service, but also as elected officials in the City of Toronto. And it's because of that that I'm deeply alarmed to hear our Ombudsman say that because the caseload has been growing without a commensurate increase in the resources available to her, we're not able to do, her office is not able to do as much of the good work as she would like to do. And in fact, particularly with the complex cases. For those of you who weren't here, the issue of evictions of vulnerable seniors in Toronto community housing was one of the most heartbreaking and frankly appalling things that I've sat through here on this council. It was an utter failure of government, and it's only because the Ombudsman's office was able to do a complex investigation into all the various systems that were breaking down and causing that problem. I think it's incumbent on us, given...
Councillor Perks, I have to put your time on hold. Can you ring the bells? We don't have quorum.
That can happen when I'm talking.
Yeah, we don't have quorum. Everybody's left.
There we go.
Quorum call. I mean, we're almost done.
Well, I think the Speaker felt what I was saying was really important.
Well, I wanted you to at least have quorum when you were speaking.
That's kind of you, Speaker.
Members, please press one of the two buttons on your desk to indicate your presence in the chamber.
Councillor Fillion, you could press one of your buttons, please.
Councillor Bradford, please. Councillor Fletcher, when you're seated.
Madam Speaker, quorum is present. There are 18 members in the chamber.
Thank you. Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Speaker. As I was saying, if we can stand here day after day and the Mayor can go on television day after day for weeks at a time saying how wrong it is the provincial government won't even have a conversation, won't listen, won't communicate, then it's incumbent on us, from the data that we're seeing from the Ombudsman's office, that we have to do a better job of making sure the channels of communication between us and the people we represent are open. And given that the Ombudsman is saying that her workload has increased by 30% without any increase in resources, that's a problem that we have to take very seriously next year and in the years coming. I think often on the good work that Councillor Holyday and the members of the Audit Committee do, surfacing the problems that the Auditor General brings to our attention and how that enables us to be a more efficient and effective government. By the same token, we should be making an investment to elevate the work of the Ombudsman's office so that we can also be effective communicators and responsive to the people that we represent. And I hope that we bear that in mind in 6 or 8 months when we sit down to consider our budget for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you. On the item, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Cole, you'd like to release MM 7.3?
Yes, I'm satisfied with MM 7.3, and I'll release it.
Okay, on favor? Carried. Recorded vote on that one.
Item MM 7.3 is adopted, 19 to 1.
715, Councillor Cressy had an amendment. Does anybody have that amendment? Does the staff have it? Councillor Cressy?
Yeah, I have an amendment, if it can be put on the screen, and I can speak to it briefly. So what we have here is what we have here is to direct the general manager to investigate all options to ensure the safety of cyclists along Richmond during the construction of the water main, to report back to council as required if there are any bylaw changes or anything that would be necessary. And just to speak very briefly to this, this is the busiest bike lane in the entire city. We have necessary water main construction work that must take place. We all accept that. We've done an exceptional amount of work with staff from ECS, Transportation Services, and others to see if you could accommodate both a vehicle lane, a bike lane, and construction work. You cannot. We accept that, but then you need a detour. The answer cannot be the busiest bike lane in the entire city is going to undergo construction and there's no alternative route. And there are no additional mitigation measures. That is not acceptable. And so this motion is very clearly in the amendment to instruct staff to explore those additional measures, to report back as necessary, and to ensure that we have a detour in place. And further to Councillor Perk's idea, at the next meeting, we will be bringing forward a motion to formally rename the bike lane after Deputy Mayor Minnan Wong for his courageous leadership to get it built.
Thank you. On the amendment, recorded vote. Oh, the item. On the item, recorded vote.
Councillor Holyday, when you're ready, please.
The item is adopted unanimously, 21 in favor.
Okay, last item, MM 7.23, Councillor Robinson. You held it down?
Yeah, I have MM 7.22. Is
No,
that what-
723.
Oh. Mine says 22. But anyway, so have I got the wrong one then? Maybe I held the wrong one. What I thought I was holding was the art event.
No, you held down the places of worship.
No, I didn't need to do that.
Whoopsie.
Well, the other one passed.
Okay, well then there was a miscommunication. That's okay, no problem.
Okay, so on the item, recorded vote. Does
Councillor Crawford, please.
The item is adopted 19-1.
Crawford, you're going to add a motion?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'd like to add a motion, a technical amendment regarding bylaw 394-2019-219.
Okay, on favor? Carried? Okay. Okay, we'll display it.
And by it, you mean Ellen and Anthony? That's what we display?
Okay, there it is.
I object.
On favor? Carried. Members, before I ask for motion to enact the general bills, may I have a motion regarding the consideration of submissions on zoning bylaw and official plan amendments? Councillor McKelvey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That committee and council considered submissions in making a decision on zoning bylaw and official plan amendments.
All in favor? Carried. Councillor Layton, you have a motion to introduce certain bills.
Yes, thank you very much. That leave be granted to introduce bills 674 to 802 inclusive.
That was really well done.
Shall leave be granted to introduce these bills? Recorded vote.
Councillor Holliday, please. Councillor Fletcher. Councillor Ainsley, please.
Councillor Wong Tam, please. Councillor Fillion, please. Councillor Perks, please. And Councillor Robinson, please.
The motion to introduce the general bills carries unanimously, 21 in favor.
Shall these bills be passed and declared as a bylaw? Recorded vote.
Councillor Holliday, please. Councillor Madlow.
Councillor Cole, please.
Councillor Madlow, please.
Councillor Perruzza, please.
The motion to introduce the bills carries unanimously, 21 in favor.
Councillor Carroll, you have a motion to introduce the confirming bill?
I do, Madam Speaker, on this meeting, and thank you for getting us through this meeting, that leave be granted to introduce a bill to confirm to the point of the introduction of this motion the proceedings of City Council Meeting 7 on May 14th and May 15th, 2019.
Thank you. Shall leave be granted to introduce this bill? Recorded vote.
Councillor Bradford, please. Councillor Holliday, Councillor Madlow, Councillor Karygiannis. Councillor Layton, please.
Councillor Perks, please.
Councillor Ainsley, please.
Councillor Carroll, please. And Councillor Perruzza, please.
Councillor Ainsley.
The motion to introduce the confirming bill carries unanimously, 21 in favor.
Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw? Recorded vote.
Councillor Matlow, please. Councillor Layton, thank you.
Councillor Perruzza, please.
The motion to enact the confirming bill carries unanimously, 21 in favor.
Thank you to members of council. Thank you to staff. Meeting adjourned at 4:25.
But anyway, if you guys, so